Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Hey, thank you so much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 1031. Well, today we are taking you out to Virginia, and we are going to profile a young man right in the beginning of his FFA journey and talk about the things he's been involved in, but also talk about his decision to join the FFA, not growing up in agriculture and growing up in a neighborhood, and how this is a very unique departure from normal for him compared to the young men and women that he grew up going to school with. Really interesting interview. Very much looking forward to introducing you to Mr. Shawn Jamison, and we're going to get that started for you right now. Shawn, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
Hey, you bet. It is my pleasure to speak with you. And how is Virginia this fine morning?
It's doing well. It's kind of cold.
Cold in Virginia? What is cold in Virginia in March?
Well, anything below, I guess, 40.
Okay, yeah, that's chilly enough for March. No question about it. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm eager to find out what you've been doing for your supervised agricultural experience and kind of find out about you and your journey in the FFA. If you wouldn't mind, can I just ask you a few questions about you to get to know you a little bit better?
Yep, I don't mind at all.
Okay. Well, so when you're not at school, when you're at home, are you growing up on a farm there in Virginia? Are you in town, or maybe something kind of in the middle of those two?
I'm kind of like in a neighborhood, so not really like in a farm.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay, so kind of a subdivision?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay, so is this because you're a freshman this year, right? You're just wrapping up your freshman year. So
Yes,
is this your first year in the FFA?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so why did you join? Why did you want to be part of the FFA?
I joined because there was something to do, and I want to be involved agriculturally with the school. It helps out with my experience and to grow more through being outside rather than being in a classroom.
Okay, and so what draws you to agriculture? Why is it ag that you're choosing?
Well, stuff that draws me is being around animals and plants, and just learning about that. It's interesting.
Okay, and is that something that you had done prior to starting high school?
No, sir.
Okay, so that's interesting. What is it about the plants and the animals that you like? I mean, obviously you can get that exposure in the FFA, but when it comes to what motivates you, I mean, why is it that you like that? You're interested in that?
Well, it gives you something to do rather than being stuck inside the house, whether you're gardening or maybe you're going to, I guess, ride a horse
Okay.
or something like that. So it gives you something to do and it's fun rather
Okay.
than being inside the house.
Well, that's really interesting. And I think maybe at some point in time, you might look back on this discussion or this decision to go into the FFA and realize something about yourself. But there are people who their whole, maybe one of their major priorities in life when they're choosing a career, whatever that may be, is to be outside. And it sounds to me like that's kind of one of your goals right now, that you enjoy being outside in the sunshine, the fresh air, whatever it may be, rather than being inside a building.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. Well, man, agriculture, that is a place where you can find that. There's no question about that. That's really interesting. Okay, so growing up, not necessarily in agriculture, not doing this, are you making a lot of new friends in the FFA, or did you have a lot of friends that you went through middle school with and grammar school with that went into the FFA as well, or are you kind of unique in that way?
I'm kind of unique. I guess with my friends, they don't really like participate in agriculture and stuff. So I guess I'm just kind of more independent.
Very interesting. How did it catch your parents off guard, or do they have some sort of a history in farming and agriculture?
My dad used to work on a farm when he was younger. He lived out in Franklin County.
Okay.
So he used to work on a farm. So I'm kind of like along with that, but
I hear you. Well, it's funny. So my daughter, she's the same age as you. She's in her freshman year of high school, first year in FFA. But when about this time last year, she came home from middle school in 8th grade and told us that she had signed up to go into the JROTC in high school, which totally caught us off guard. We're like, wow, where did that come from? And, you get to that age and you start seeing things that interest you and you can pursue them in high school. So that's really cool. So I wondered if your parents had the same experience with you joining the FFA. Did they know that you were thinking about that, or is it something you came home and said, hey, I'm doing this?
I think they knew that I was thinking about it.
Okay, awesome. Well, so here you are. You're getting towards the end of your first year in the FFA. What kind of things have you been able to do to kind of to jump in and to participate this year?
Well, we've done stuff like outside the classroom with Dr. Jones. We planted compost
Hmm.
and we mixed compost, and we went in the vegetable garden and we got the vegetables out and planted new stuff. And we went in the greenhouse and we cleared that up. So we basically around plants most of the time.
Very cool. And then how about competitions? Have you been able to do anything like conduct of meetings or any CDEs, LDEs, anything like that yet?
No, I haven't been into any competitions yet.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. So you are in the FFA, and is it something you're going to come back and do again next year?
I certainly will.
That's great. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. That Shawn, that's wonderful. Let's do that. I think you mentioned your FFA advisor. We always love to acknowledge our FFA advisors here on the show. Would you mind mentioning who they are for you?
Dr. Jessica Jones,
Awesome.
and yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for acknowledging her. Really, really do appreciate her setting this up for us. I want to ask you about your supervised agricultural experience. So I know that you're just getting started. You're probably just coming up with ideas and what you're going to be doing. And I love to catch students in this stage of development, I guess, if you will, in the FFA. So have you started your SAE, or if not, have you decided what it's going to be?
For my SAE for right now, I've been taking care of my dogs,
Okay. So
and I've just been feeding them, taking them out, and giving them baths, treating them right.
good, good, good. And then what's the future look like for that for you?
Um, I'm planning on seeing if I can dog sit maybe for other people,
Okay.
kind of money over the summer.
Oh, very good. So that's interesting because obviously you've got your own experience, but there are a lot of people out there who want to take vacations and things like that, but they have to have somebody take care of those pets.
Yep.
Interesting. Now, and so dog sitting is kind of where you're going to get started, I guess, making money and kind of starting your own business. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Now, with that, what as you think about that and you think about getting that going, do you have any thoughts of growing that in the future, like over the next 3 years of high school, what that might develop into?
Possibly. I feel like it was more like a side thing to make money. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if it's major business, but definitely be something to work for.
You know, it's really interesting that you mentioned that. You said at the outset when you chose the FFA and decided to join the group that you had this interest in plants but also in animals. And I don't know, are you aware of there's actually a very viable business out there that I believe you could start in high school doing farm sitting for people, because people who have livestock, they also want to go places sometimes and they need somebody to take care of those animals while they are gone. Have you ever thought about that?
No, sir.
You know, it's an interesting thing, and especially if you're getting any experience working with livestock or with animals there in the FFA, it's something you could do. In your particular area of Virginia, are there many people that have small farms? Maybe they're raising some cattle or some goats or something like that.
Sounds about right. There's definitely a bunch of farms around here that are local.
That's very interesting. Well, there's a ton of prospects out there for you. It's really kind of exciting, I think.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Okay. Well, aside from the supervised agricultural experience, for the rest of your time in the FFA, what are some of the goals that you have within the organization?
I like to become an officer.
Okay. And do you know with what position you'd like to begin, or when you want to go after that?
I want to see if I can start it this year.
Okay. And what would do you have to run? Do you have to just say I'm interested in this particular position? Or do you just say I want to be an officer, and somebody else kind of decides where you fit the best?
I think it's more I guess you say you want to be an officer, and yeah, I guess you have to run for that position to become a chapter officer. So
Gotcha.
that's what I want.
And is it just a general officer position, or do you choose? Do you say I want to be president, or I want to be a sentinel or something like that? How does it work for you?
I think it's what you get elected as versus like I with you what you run for. So if you're running for chapter officer, you go for chapter officer, and that's what
Okay.
you get.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Well, good for you. That is great. And is Virginia going to have its state convention this year, or is it going to be Virtual, do you know?
I think it might be virtual because of the COVID situation.
Okay.
So probably will be because the last convention they had was virtual with I think the president stepped down.
Okay.
Yeah, they did
Gotcha.
that virtually.
Gotcha. Very good. Well, Shawn, this is exciting. I love catching students in your portion of the journey in FFA because you're just getting started and there's so many good things that are going to happen to you through being a member. I'd love to ask your advice before we wrap it up, just for other students out there who aren't necessarily growing up on a farm and they're growing up in a neighborhood like you did, and FFA is an option for them at high school. Why should they consider joining?
You should consider joining so you can be surrounded by friends and you can kind of join that family and you can be surrounded by things you wouldn't be able to experience if you lived in a neighborhood because of the space.
That's great. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us today.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody, and thank you again to Shawn Jamison for coming on the Off-Farm Income Podcast today and sharing his story with us. Really, really appreciated that. Hey, we would love it if you guys would click that subscribe button below and become subscribers to our YouTube channel, and also if you would follow us on our social media channels. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we would love to connect with you there. And until next time, everybody, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.